If you're not failing, you're not trying. That's not motivational speak. That's not a cute quote. That's the truth. Think about it. The people who never fail are the people who never attempt anything difficult. They stay in their comfort zone, they do what's easy, they avoid risk, and they never grow. But the people who become great, they fail constantly. They attempt things they might not succeed at. They push beyond their limits. They try and fail and try again. And that's exactly what separates them from everyone else. This is episode 26, and today we are talking about failure, what it really means, why it's necessary, and how to reframe it from something to fear into something to embrace. Let's go. Most of us are terrified of failure. We are terrified of looking foolish. We are terrified of being judged. We are terrified of not being good enough. So, what do? We play it safe. We stay in our lane. We do what we know we can do. We avoid anything that might result in failure. And in doing so, we guarantee mediocrity. Because here's the truth, if you're never failing, you're never pushing yourself. If you're never failing, you're never learning. If you're never failing, you're never growing. Failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is the path to success. Think about a child learning to walk. They fall down hundreds of times. They fail constantly. And each time they fail, they learn something. They learn how to balance. They learn how to move their legs. They learn how to coordinate their body. And eventually, they walk, they run, they dance. But they only got there by failing, by falling down, by trying and not succeeding. The same is true for everything in life. If you want to be great at something, you have to be willing to fail at it. You have to be willing to attempt it when you might not succeed. You have to be willing to look foolish. You have to be willing to fall down because that's how you learn, that's how you grow, that's how you become unstoppable. Here's how most people think about failure. Failure is bad. Failure means you're not good enough. Failure means you should give up. But that's not what failure is. Failure is feedback. Failure is information. Failure is data. When you fail at something, you learn what doesn't work. You learn what to adjust. You learn what to try differently next time. Thomas Edison famously said, I have not failed. I have just found 10,000 ways that won't work. He was testing different materials for the light bulb. He failed 10,000 times, but he didn't see it as a failure. He saw it as progress. Each failure was data. Each failure eliminated one option and moved him closer to the solution. And eventually he found it and the world changed. But he only got there by being willing to fail, by being willing to try things that might not work, by being willing to treat each failure as information, not as defeat. That's the mindset shift you need to make. Failure is not defeat, failure is feedback. Failure is the universe telling you what to adjust. When you fail, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? What didn't work? What should I try differently next time? And then you adjust. You try again, you fail again, you learn again, and you keep going. That's how you move forward. That's how you improve. That's how you become great. Here's what most people don't understand. The real courage is not succeeding, is not in succeeding. The real courage is in attempting something difficult when failure is possible. It's easy to do things you know you can do. It's easy to stay in your comfort zone. It's easy to avoid risk. But that's not courage. That's cowardice dressed up as safety. Real courage is attempting something you might fail at. Real courage is putting yourself out there when you might look foolish. Real courage is trying even when you might not succeed. And here's the thing, people who become great are the people who have the courage to attempt. They are not afraid to fail. They are not afraid to look foolish. They are not afraid to try. Stephen Curry is the greatest shooter in NBA history. For me, he might even be the greatest player in NBA history. But early in his career, he was doubted. Coaches didn't believe in him. Analysts said he would never make it. He had ankle injuries that many thought would end his career. But Curry had the courage to attempt. He had the courage to shoot shots that others wouldn't shoot. He had the courage to work on his craft even when people doubted him. He had the courage to fail in practice thousands of times so he could succeed on court. And now he's revolutionized the game of basketball. Cristiano Ronaldo was rejected by academies as a young player. He was told he was too small. He was told he was too weak. He was told he would never make it. But Ronaldo had the courage to attempt. He had the courage to work harder than everyone else. He had the courage to reinvent himself constantly. He had the courage to fail and get back up. And now he's the greatest footballer of all time. The difference between Curry and Ronaldo and everyone else is not talent. It's not luck. It's not courage. It's the willingness to attempt something difficult even when failure is possible. And that courage is available to you right now, today. The Bible understands this principle. It's woven through scripture. In James 1, verses 2 to 4, we read, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." This is profound. James is saying that trials are not obstacles to faith, they are mechanism by which faith is tested and strengthened. The testing produces perseverance, and perseverance produces maturity. In other words, you can't become mature without trials. You can't become complete without failure. The struggle is not separate from growth. The struggle is the growth. In Romans 5, verses 3 to 5, Paul writes, "Not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings because we know that sufferings produce perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope." There's a progression here. Suffering produces perseverance, perseverance produces character, character produces hope. You can't skip any of these steps. You can't have character without perseverance. You can't have perseverance without suffering. Failure is the beginning of the chain. Without failure, there's no perseverance. Without perseverance, there's no character. In 2 Corinthians 12, verse 10, Paul says, "That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weakness, in insults, in hardships, in persecutions, difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong." Paul is saying that weakness and failure are not things to hide from. They're opportunities to experience God's strength. When you fail, when you're weak, that's when you discover that you can rely on something bigger than yourself. In 1 Peter 1, verses 6 to 7, we read, in all this you greatly rejoice, though now for a little while you may have had to suffer grief in all kinds of trials. These have come so that the proven genuineness of faith, of greater worth than gold, which perishes even though refined by fire, may result in praise, glory, and honor when Jesus Christ is revealed. Just as gold is refined by fire, faith is refined by trials. The trials prove genuineness of faith. Failure is the fire that refines you, and what comes out the other side is stronger, pure, and more valuable. In James 1, verse 12, we read, blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him. Perseverance through faith leads to blessing. The one who doesn't give up when they fail receives the crown. This is the reward for trying and failing and trying again. And in Proverbs 24, verse 16, we read, for though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again, but the wicked stumble when calamity strikes. This is the key verse. Failure is not the issue. Rising again is what matters. The righteous are defined by never failing. Oh. The righteous are defined by, not by never failing, but by always getting back up. Let me give you some examples of people who understood this principle, people who are willing to fail and get back up. Stephen Curry went undrafted in the NBA. Well, not undrafted. He was drafted 7th overall in 2009, but he was considered a reach. Coaches didn't believe in him. Analysts said he would never make it in the NBA. He also had ankle injuries early in his career that many thought would end his career. He was fragile, he was doubted, but he had the courage to attempt. He worked obsessively on his craft. He shot thousands of shots in practice. He failed thousands of times. He attempted shots that other players wouldn't attempt. And now he's the greatest shooter in NBA history. He revolutionized the game. He's won multiple championships. He's changed basketball forever. But he only got there by willing to fail, by being willing to attempt things he might not succeed at, by being willing to walk through doubt and injury and criticism. Cristiano Ronaldo was rejected by many academies as a young player. He was considered too small, too weak, not talented enough. But Ronaldo had a different mindset. He decided that if he couldn't be the most talented, he would be the most disciplined. He would work harder than anyone and everyone else. He would be more dedicated than everyone else. And he was. He transformed his body, he transformed his game, he became obsessed with improvement. Now he's one of the greatest athletes of all time. He scored more goals than anyone in history. He's won multiple trophies. He's won multiple individual awards. He's transcended the sport. But he only got there by willing to fail, by being willing to attempt difficult things, by being willing to work through rejection and doubt. Steve Jobs was fired from Apple in 1985. He founded the company, he built it, and then he was fired. That's a failure. That's a public, humiliating failure. Jobs didn't give up. He founded Next Computer. It failed. He bought Pixar. It was initially a financial disaster, but Jobs learned from each failure. He learned what worked and what didn't. He learned about business. He learned about people. He learned about himself. And when Apple was dying in the late 1990s, Jobs returned and he used everything he learned from his failures to revolutionize the company. He created the iMac, the iPod, the iPhone, the iPad, and he changed the world. But he only got there by being willing to fail, by being willing to attempt things he might not succeed at, by being willing to learn from each failure and come back stronger. Oprah Winfrey was fired from her first TV job. She was told she was unfit for television. She was told she would never make it. She also faced poverty, abuse, and discrimination. She had every reason to give up, but Oprah had the courage to attempt. She kept trying, she kept improving, she kept learning from her failures. And now she's one of the most influential people in the world. She built a media empire. She's helped millions of people. She's changed lives. But she only got there by willing to fail, by being willing to attempt things she might not succeed at, by being willing to turn her wounds into wisdom. So, how do you reframe failure? How do you move from fear to courage? How do you move from seeing failure as defeat to seeing it as feedback? Here's a framework. First, understand that failure is not identity. You failed at something, but you are not a failure. Failure is an event, not a permanent state. You failed this time. That doesn't mean you'll fail next time. That doesn't mean you're incapable. It means you tried and didn't succeed. Now you have information for the next time. Second, extract the lesson. When you fail, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? What didn't work? What should I try differently? What did I discover about myself? What did I discover about the task? Write it down, make it concrete, turn the failure into data you can use. Third, adjust and try again. Don't just fail and move on. Fail and adjust. Fail and try a different approach. Fail and work harder. Fail and get better. This is the cycle. Attempt, fail, learn, adjust, attempt again, learn again, adjust again. Fourth, celebrate the attempt. Most people never attempt anything difficult. Most people stay in their comfort zone. Most people avoid the risk. But you attempted something difficult. You put yourself out there. You're willing to fail. That's already a victory. That's already courage. So celebrate it. Acknowledge it. And recognize that you did something most people won't do. Fifth, understand that failure is temporary. Failure is not forever. Failure is not final. Failure is a moment in time. You fail today, but tomorrow you can try again. Next week you can try again. Next year you can try again. The people who become great are not the people who never fail. The people who become great are the people who fail and keep going, who fail and adjust, who fail and try again. Here's what most people don't understand. When you're willing to fail, when you're willing to attempt difficult things, you get an invisible advantage. You get the advantage of courage. While others are paralyzed by fear, you're moving forward. While others are playing it safe, you're taking risks. And over time, you become braver. You become more confident. You become unstoppable. You get the advantage of learning. Each failure teaches you something. Each attempt teaches you something. And over time, you accumulate knowledge that others don't have. You understand things that others don't understand. You get the advantage of resilience. And each time you fail and get back up, you become stronger. You become more resilient. You become the kind of person who doesn't break under pressure. You get the advantage of wisdom. The people who have failed the most are often the wisest. They've learned from their mistakes. They've learned what works and what doesn't. They've learned about themselves. and about the world. And this invisible advantage compounds attempt after attempt, failure after failure, learning after learning, until one day people look at you and they say, wow, you're so talented, you're so lucky, you're so gifted. But you know the truth. You know that it wasn't talent, it wasn't luck, it wasn't a gift. It was the willingness to fail. It was the courage to attempt. It was the discipline to learn from each failure and keep going. Now I want to talk about timing because there's a principle that applies here. You might think, okay, I understand this. I understand that I need to be willing to fail. But when should I start? When should I begin to attempt difficult things? The answer is simple. Now, not tomorrow, not next year, not when you feel ready, not when the circumstances are perfect. Now, because every day you delay is a day you are not learning. Every day you wait is a day you're not growing. Every day you hesitate is a day someone else is attempting and failing and learning. Your appointed time is now. Your time to attempt is now. Time to be willing to fail is now. Your time to have the courage to try is now. Here's the truth. You are capable of more than you think. You are capable of attempting things that you've never attempted. You are you are capable of failing and getting back again, getting back up again. You are capable of becoming great, but you have to be willing to fail. You have to have the courage to attempt. You have to be willing to look foolish. You have to be willing to fall down because that's how you grow. That's how you learn. That's how you become unstoppable. People who become great are not the people who fail. People who become great are the people who fail constantly. They attempt things they might not succeed at. They push beyond their limits. They try and fail and try again. And each time they fail, they get stronger. Each time they fail, they learn something. Each time they fail, they move closer to mastery. So here's my challenge to you. Attempt something difficult this week. Attempt something you might fail at. Attempt something that scares you. And when you fail, and you might fail, don't give up. Don't retreat to your comfort zone. Don't play it safe. Instead, extract the lesson, adjust, try again. Because if you're not failing, you're not even trying. And if you're not trying, you're not living up to your potential. You are capable of more. You are capable of greatness. You are capable of becoming the person you're meant to be. But you have to be willing to fail. So fail, learn, adjust, try again. That's the path to greatness. That's the path to becoming unstoppable. This is Built Not Felt by the Rice Code. I'll see you all in the next one.